Welcome to our yoga for sleep, and maybe technically it should be yoga and Ayurveda for sleep, because I'm going to sneak a little bit of information in that I hope will help us with our sleep routines this summer. Just a little bit. It's repetitive if you've taken this sort of class with me before, so I'm going to throw some new things in, and it will be, some of it is common sense, so we all know some of what I'm going to say, and then some of it might be totally new. So let's talk about some tips for sleep according to yoga, its sister science Ayurveda, and then modern science and research. Okay, it is summer, so ideally, first thing in the morning, our bodies should be warming up. This is what they say in all of the sleep and lifestyle research. We need to wake to warm. But it's summer, so you may wake up early because your body is already too warm. You might start waking up as soon as the sun comes up. That might also be because of the light, or it starts to, heat your house up, and you wake up maybe 3 hours earlier than you want to get up because it's too hot, it's too bright. Okay, so we're very smart. We're going to use our brains. If you have blackout blinds, fantastic. If you have air conditioning, wonderful. If we don't have any of those things, or if we're still too hot, then maybe we like to make our coffee the night before and drink it chilled instead of hot, so we can still keep up with our morning hydration. It could be coffee, tea, whatever is in your life. But if you do find you're waking up early, this is the one time of year that Ayurveda says you can take a nap if you would like. Now, I wondered my whole life, and finally one day I found the answer. Why do the afternoon lows even exist? Like, why is it that I can't even keep my head up in the afternoon? Well, apparently it is for survival's sake. So built into our systems based on, billions and billions of years of evolution. Our bodies can sense temperature throughout the day, which is why we wake and warm. And then we have this afternoon low because our bodies sense a temperature high, which if we picture, ancient humans on the savannah, what is the time of day we're most likely to be unwell, dehydrate, get sunburn, any of that stuff? First thing, or not first thing, in the afternoon lows. So if we are too hot and too dehydrated, that's when we feel sleepy. You add a big lunch and we're just done. Coffee cannot bring us back from that. So what can we do in the summer? Well, if you would like to take a nap, you know exactly what to do. Eat a large meal, let your cheeks get warm, fall asleep in the hammock. Perfect. But if you don't want to fall asleep, make sure to stay hydrated and stay cool throughout. If we know that we're going to be tired, some people it hits them earlier, some people later. If for you, whatever, it's 3 o'clock that you're really tired, back that up maybe 3 or 4 hours and make sure you're cooling and hydrating from noon, so that by the time the warmest part of the day comes and you feel tired, you're already hydrated and kind of cooling down with beverages so that your energy will stay up, and then we can move our eating window too early to make us sleepy or too late to make us sleepy, or have smaller lunches so we don't get so sleepy. Okay. Something new I'm thinking about. If you've heard of the Sleepy Girl mocktail, everybody's drinking it on the internet. One of the ingredients is tart cherry juice. I have not yet tried this. I have no skin in the game. I can't tell you if it's like a wonder drink or whatever. I just haven't gone to the effort yet. But I was thinking, what if this summer we make ice cubes out of tart cherry juice to have, instead of hot tea like we would have the rest of the year, a nice, cool beverage. Unfortunately, and I'll get into this in a second, alcohol is not good for sleep. It's sedating, but not necessarily good for sleep. So if we have just these like flavorful ice cubes that still feel like a kind of fancy drink, but it's chilling us out, maybe then we'll kind of drift off into sleep. The other thing that I discovered recently is glycine. And I never want to recommend supplements, but it's just a protein. And I think, well, I'm a personal trainer. Okay, we can eat protein here. Check with your doctor, do what you like. It's a protein powder. Glycine is the name of the protein. It can be used to bring your body temperature down. just a little bit. We only need to cool down from the hottest part of the day a bit to fall asleep. We don't need to super chill ourselves. So you probably won't feel anything is happening. Probably way less dramatic than having a drink with ice cubes, but people are trying this glycine protein if you want to. I will give us one warning. It causes very interesting dreams for some people. So if you know you're already prone to like vivid, kind of deranged dreams, this might not be the one for you. If you're that lucky person who is too hot and you never remember your dreams, maybe you like it, get a little more protein in your life. You could get it from food sources too. Okay, the other thing. Sometimes at this time of year, we get this tired, wired feeling. We think it's like, it's summer, we've got all this energy, the sun brings us this vitality, but you might actually find that then the sun doesn't set until it's so late. You probably know this feeling. You think, what time is it? And you look at the clock and you're like, oh, how is it 9:30 already? Okay, so I'm getting in the habit. I'm trying to be strict with myself to close the blinds, dim the lights 3 hours before bedtime. I'm very sensitive to light in the evening. I have my lovely orange glasses that I love that I will wear to finish out this evening. You could wear the orange glasses, you can wear sunglasses. They do say the colors of sunset help us fall asleep at night. And yes, even as the sun gets lower towards the horizon, doesn't have to be true sunset to help you sleep, just getting towards sunset will even do that for you. But if you notice that you have trouble falling asleep, we're very smart. We can close the blinds, have kind of nice, warm, gentle lighting around the house. There has been updated research, very exciting, about that tired, wired feeling. And of course, yoga to the rescue, the tools that they use, we already know. Gentle breathing and progressive muscle relaxation or tense and release. So we'll do that today. And then the other thing that I will include is, maybe you know this from schoolyard games, I'm going on a picnic and I'm going to bring apples, bananas, cantaloupes, and you have to go through the alphabet. That's the other one. And it can be anything. I'm not very good at this game, apparently. I have to choose really broad categories. Fruits was too hard for me. I had to just go with food. So it's something that has like a gentle focus of attention, which of course we are good at in yoga. We do our body scan, paying attention to our breathing, picturing happy things, that kind of thing. So we'll throw that in today. But if you didn't know about this tired, wired feeling, it's when we might be in bed, our bodies are tired, our minds are fatigued, we would just really like to go to sleep. But for whatever reason, there's like a feeling of activation. And there are actually two mechanisms that we need to fall asleep. One of them is tiredness, and the other one is a lack of activation. So this is why sedatives like alcohol and even sleeping medications aren't that great to help us fall asleep, because we may have, okay, let's say we have sleepiness and activation, and our sleepiness is really high, but our activation is too high to fall asleep. So then the sedative quality needs to be like higher than the sleepiness or higher than the activation to kind of really have us zonked out, which might not be that restorative feeling. Maybe you felt this. You've been like running on empty for days and you finally fall asleep and you're just out. And the next day it doesn't feel like that restorative. So actually what we can do instead of bringing up the sleepiness is to bring down the activation. So this is what we all know and love, these little micro breaks throughout the day. Take a deep breath before you eat, take a deep breath before you answer the phone, any of that sort of stuff to kind of so that our activation isn't constantly revving all day, and then we get into bed and our sleepiness is sky high, but so is our activation. So we're just sort of like, ah. So we will try to bring down the activation now so we can all drift off into sleep. We'll keep it gentle so our body temperature can cool. And I'll throw in those tips, paying attention to our breathing, our progressive muscle relaxation, and then going through the alphabet. You can count sheep if you're more traditional, but I will give us some alphabet options. Oh my gosh. Okay, we'll start seated. I'm going to back up just a touch, and then we'll go through some movement. Okay, so we will start with our very first tip. Oops. Our coherence breathing. So this is what there's been a lot of research on. It's just because it's easy to research, not because it's the be all end all of breathing. So please breathe however it's comfortable and appropriate for you. You could be lying down, you could be standing, you could be sitting here with me or on the floor. But let's bring some relaxation into our bodies. We can shake out, we can do any kind of little micro movements we need to settle down. Option to close our eyes. Sometimes closing the eyes can also be quite activating, so we might like to just have gentle, relaxed eye muscles and take our eyes downward. Looking down can also help with our sense of sleepiness. So if we are looking down, maybe towards the top edge of the yoga mat, if you have one, there are lots of practices where we place a candle a few feet ahead of ourselves. So that would be another option as we move through summer. Or just picking a spot so that we can relax our need to look anywhere and tune our attention in to our breathing. So our coherence breathing is also called an even breath. And for today, we can use the number 4 as we so often do, inhaling for a count of 4 at a moderate pace, and then exhaling for a count of 4 at that same moderate pace. So there's no sense of rush with our breath, but also no need to stretch it out in a way that feels unnatural. So by matching our inhale to our exhale at what feels like a full enough or deep enough breath for you, we can bring in this sense of what we can call downregulation or being less activated, more relaxed, peaceful, calm, any word that feels relaxing for you. Sometimes in yoga we use the word sattva, which can mean balance or harmony. Or a sense of homeostasis, or things being okay as they are. And depending on whatever's going on in your life right now, we can say things are okay enough as they are right now in this very moment. And you may find that instead of matching inhale to exhale, you prefer to stretch out the exhale. So inhaling for a count of 4 and exhaling for a count of 5. We could add on. I like to call this one the 4-5-1 breath. Inhale for 4, exhale for 5, and with the lungs empty, pause for 1. And I got this from Patrick McEwen, calls this neutral breathing. So if you like this technique, making a mental note, we can come back to it anytime we have literally just a moment to ourselves. All right, now you're all at home, you're all comfortable. You can stay here the rest of the time. If you need that, perfect. If you want some movement, okay, come along with me. Let's get moving. So I am in the chair to start. You can be on the floor or standing. I know sometimes in the heat, we don't do the movement. We would always like to be moving because it's just too hot. So sometimes that has an effect on back pain or something like that. If you're more comfortable standing up, please be my guest because we're going to start moving the upper body. Let's do some breath to movement matching. So we'll inhale the arms up and then exhale down. And I like to use this visual to create a sense of balance energetically. So we are increasing our sense of activation, but then also finding balance with our sense of whatever words you like, being grounded, relaxed, or in this case, maybe sleepy since we're moving towards bedtime. And gentle through the fingertips. Very often in yoga, Pilates, other styles of movement, we're really like energized in the palms. Maybe just for today, we keep it gentle. See what impact that has on you. We can engage our core muscles with our exhale, pulling the abdominal muscles inward. And then I always like to add a posture element. So we can bring the thumbs up to the shoulders with the inhale, and then exhale down. Gathering our energy up, on the way up, and then releasing, not working too hard, on the way down. And sometimes it's uncomfortable to have this balanced feeling of energy and sleepiness because we fight our sleepiness all day so that we can stay activated and engaged with our own lives. But let's see if we can feel safe feeling sleepy for our time together. If you fall asleep, that's okay. It's almost bedtime anyways. And our thumbs to shoulders is just a landmark to set our bodies in the right spot. We can also bring fingertips to ears or whatever feels good. We can start to make bigger movements. Careful that we're not overheating ourselves, but we are creating some warmth so that we get some more out of our stretches together. Last one. Okay, our lateral flexion, and we'll do some Tai Chi and Qigong inspired movement today. One arm up, one arm down, evenly balanced between earth and sky. We inhale to stretch, and then we exhale to come back through center. Working our coordination if we like, we can gently pass the fingers across one another as we come through center. Moving at your own pace. Waking up the sides of the body here. Okay, once more each way. Let's really stretch to the top this time and pause. And stretching to the other side and pausing. And then we'll come back through center. Let's keep moving with our breath. We'll do spinal rotation. Often we do this one standing, inhaling up through center. And then we'll pull the right elbow back as we press the left arm across. We're twisting. Inhaling up and the other way. So sometimes we do this kind of like we're bowling or something, flipping the hand off. We can do smaller movements for today. Again, if we're thinking keeping the heat down, I don't know how warm it is in your house. If it is cold and you want to build some heat, of course. And the arm in the back can really work our posture, squeeze the back of the shoulder of which elbow is bent in behind. Let's hold on this side, and then if we like, we can use the chair to help us hold a little longer. So depending on how far we reach back, we can be holding the seat of the chair or the back of the chair, maybe the arm of the chair, depending on what kind of chair we have, and this arm that's reaching across in front can just gently land on our legs. If we like to be a little bit more pretzel-y, the right leg can come up and over the left as we hold our twist. Let's take one more breath in here. And we're coming back through center. And release. Let's take it the other way. All right, we'll go through those same steps. So the elbow that comes back can land anywhere on the chair that works for you. The arm that pushes across can land on the leg. And the leg that it lands on, if we like, we can bring that one up and across. So we may notice, because of the warmth, that we have more range of motion than usual, but our key as we move through the summer is not to work too hard. I think work hard, play hard, rest hard. So we are making sure that our work, play, and rest are even. Okay, we'll come back through center. We'll loosen up anything that feels good here, reset our posture. And if you like, we can move to the corner of the chair. So often we do this with the corner of the seat in between our legs to give us a bit more range of motion and more of a solid base for balance sake. And we'll do one of my favorites, waving clouds, gentle fingers here, and we take ourselves side to side. So as we move into summer, instead of doing a ton of sun salutations, building heat, working strength in the upper body, we can do instead moon salutations, moving the body side to side. So normally we would do in some of our winter classes, circling movements of the body, really focusing on our abs. Instead, we can pull in this side to side energy, nice and easy. All right, let's come all the way to one side, right arm to right thigh, reaching up and over, lengthening through the body, and let's bend our top arm to get a stretch for our tricep. So we're bending left arm, the back of the left arm or the left tricep stretches. Inhale, we reach a little further, and then exhale, we do want a little bit of strength going in the side of the waist to pull us back up to center. And we'll take it the other way. Okay, we stretch across, we land, left arm down, right arm up and over, and we can just let the left arm hang nice and easy behind the head. Inhale, we reach a little further, and with our exhale, our core muscles pull us back. Beautiful. Okay, we can do a second round sitting in the chair. If we're okay to come up to standing, then let's come up to standing. And you may like for some of these to have the chair close by or in front of you, just so you can see me better. I move the chair out of the way. No need to have a yoga mat, but if you do, we're standing wide on our yoga mat with our toes turned out for our second round of waving clouds. Gentle through the arms. And now we can either bend the legs side to side or keep the legs as they are and take the sides of the waist side to side. And I will give another option for side lunge in a moment. So if we're comfortable here with the upper body moving and the lower body stable, perfect. We can keep that going. And if you've been out doing a lot of walking in the beautiful weather we're having, you might be quite tight through here. So if this one feels good, you can really lean into that range of motion. Let's go once more to each side, stretch it out. We'll bring it back through center. And then for this next one, we might like the toes turned a bit more forward for our lunges. So we'll start by bending one knee at a time, taking it side to side. Maybe some popping or cracking in the hips as the inner thigh loosens up. Standing tall and confident in the center, and then bending each way. Okay, if we are feeling comfortable with this, we can add what I think of as a kind of strong, dramatic movement. So we come up through center, bending one arm as we bend the same leg, and then straightening one arm as we straighten the same leg. And then we take it the other way. Inhaling up, exhaling down. If the feet are further apart, it can become quite a lot of work for both our strength and our stretch. All right, let's just go once more each way. And we'll come back through center. Let's take the feet a little bit closer, but if you noticed we were shifting one hip at a time, that might feel kind of good to stretch the outside of the hips, so let's focus on just the hips. So we're bending one knee, stretching one hip the other way. A tough little muscle that can be hard to stretch. You might feel it in triangle pose. We'll come up through center, and then we'll take it the other way, shifting hip to the side. We'll come back through center. All right, let's give ourselves some space to step forward. So if you are on a yoga mat like me, and we'll give ourselves some room in front of us, we'll do my variation of walking Chi. It is not a very traditional Tai Chi variation at all, but that's okay. We can have some fun with it. So we inhale, bringing our hands up like we just did already, and then we exhale, pressing the hands forward. Inhaling up and pressing forward. So if anybody is in the chair, you can then be reaching one leg out at a time, doing like a little heel dig or planting the foot down. Inhaling up and pressing forward. And then we can start to make this bigger. And the reason why I say it's my variation is because some of the work around longevity and health span and staying healthy and happy and confident and avoiding injury has to do with our quad muscles in the front of the leg, that as we step, we can catch ourselves. So that's what we're doing here. You can even, if you really want to land and challenge your balance, we can kind of add some impact here. Again, we're balanced, okay? So gentle lift and then a heavy land. We don't want to be too heavy all the time. Or we can do a big lift and a long stride. So we're challenging our balance and our strength and our ability to catch ourselves. So you can see I kind of add an extra breath if I'm doing this big, slow movement. And the back foot can lift or stay planted. So the idea with this is if we can catch ourselves as we step forward, then our balance is better as we move around the house. We can avoid tripping, right? Your foot gets caught, whoa, but you take another step and you can catch yourself. When you step down off a curb or when you're coming down a flight of stairs, then we're in better standing. And if you haven't gotten a chance yet to really drop your foot, try it out. See how that feels. Okay. Whatever we're doing, give it one more. And then we're back in center. And for the sake of balance, let's step backwards. We're very good at moving forward. Let's move back into the same kind of position, our Warrior One stance. So we're pressing our back heel down and back. We're reaching our front knee forward towards our front toes. And for a more gentle practice, let's take fingertips behind ears and elbows wide instead of reaching the arms all the way overhead as we might usually do. A gentle, I hope, chest expansion, pulling the elbows out. And we can keep the legs exactly as they are. As we take our hands in behind, we can take our fists to the back of the sacrum and draw the elbows in towards one another as another arm variation. We can keep them exactly as they are, or we can reach our palms towards one another in the back, squeezing the muscles of the upper back. All right, last one here, we'll release our hands to our front thigh. We can sneak the feet a little closer, and we're shifting back to stretch the back of the front leg. Let's release. We'll step up to the top of the mat. And again, we'll take a step backwards, challenging our balance just a touch as we reach back, pressing our back heel down and our front knee forward towards our front toes. Okay, if our arms need a rest for any reason, of course, we can bring hands to heart or hips. If we like that gentle chest opener, fingertips behind ears and elbows wide. So we can keep hands here if it's our favorite, or we can reach fists to our sacrum. If you don't know where your sacrum is, not in the flesh of your back or the flesh of your bum, but in this bone back here. So not on top of our spine, but just below. We can keep the arms here, or if we like, to wing the arms back, squeezing the muscles of the upper back, drawing palm to palm. And then our final option, our hamstring stretch, we can release our hands to our front thigh as we step the feet a little closer and pop the front toes to stretch our right hamstring. So if it's not your right leg in the front, whichever leg is in the front, probably feeling the stretch in the back of that leg. And we'll get more stretch if we're not rounded over. If we round over, then the stretch is generally in our back. Let's think strong back, but stretchy legs, bending our knees, but not our backs. Okay, we're coming tall, stepping the feet together, and we can loosen that up, relaxing our shoulders, shaking off the legs. We'll do a little bit of work here, practicing balancing, stepping back. Hands to heart or hips. Let's alternate a step back into our Warrior One. So a gentle step back with the right, and then up to the front with our left, and then up to the front. And we do a lot with the element of water in our summer yoga classes, right? We've got the element of fire. Let's balance it with the element of water. Like we're just taking our fingertips across the surface of a pond, bringing in some cooling, refreshing imagery. Very gentle. We want to just create tiny little ripples on the surface of the water, not a big splash. If our bodies are feeling particularly hot, we could focus on the feeling of cool air moving across our hands. And whichever side we're on, we'll just give it one more. Bring ourselves back up to the top. Standing on the top of the mat. All right, so let's do it two ways. We'll do it first standing and then seated. So if anybody is still seated on the corner of the chair, you're in the perfect spot. I see some of us standing, so we'll start standing and then we'll go to seated, but it'll be the same movement. So let's start with our legs wide. And then we'll pick one side to focus on for our warrior series. So why don't we start with the right leg bent, as we often do. And again, we're going to channel this element of water with our warrior two legs. Let's think like a surfer, surfing front and back once more, tuning into the sides of the waist. And also getting some stretch for the sides of the waist or maybe the side of the hip so that we can get more out of our triangle pose. Let's start in our side angle. So we can reach forward, taking front arm to front thigh. And instead of having a big movement for this upper arm, let's let it be loose and we're circling the elbow. And this one is good all times of year because it can help loosen tension across the front of the chest and shoulder, but nice to not create too much heat here. And then we'll take this arm and let it hang out in behind our backs. So left hand to right back pocket. We can stay here in our side angle, or we can straighten into triangle. All right, so we're working on a theme. The sides of the waist, got to be strong to get us back up to the top. And we'll take it to the other side. So we can start wide. In fact, this wide leg position with both legs bent might be your preference, or we can bend the left knee and let's surf. We can take palms up this time for a different angle for the shoulders. Give it some variety, stretching side to side. And there is this very typical yoga joke that people like to say that we can hang out in the past or we can hang out in the future, but let's always remember to bring ourselves right centered in the present moment. So this is one way that we can kind of time travel in our minds. But let's come back to center, and then we'll make our way into side angle. Left to left, and our top arm is loose, circling the elbow. Easy breezy here. Taking our top arm in behind, right arm to our left back pocket, and we can stay here with our leg bent, or we can straighten into triangle. Let's have some ease with our breath, full breath in, gentle, slow breath out. We'll use some strength to come up to the top. And then we can turn all 10 toes forward and come into our wide-legged forward fold. Taking hands to thighs, shin, or the floor. Letting our legs be bent or straight, but finding a place to land that feels like a comfortable release for the back of the legs and even for the back of the neck to let the head hang. And this won't be our only forward fold of the day, so we can bend the knees, climb up the legs, and we can reset ourselves in our wide position. If you prefer standing, please stay standing. I will pull out my chair and we'll do the same thing seated. So this is one way to kind of help our energy cool down, is to use a chair. Same thing standing, same thing seated. Pick your preference. And even when I say it's the same, we modify it, right? Obviously we have a chair in the way. So let's do it. To make sure the muscles of our leg are working, let's press our feet like we're trying to lift off the chair, but we won't. Just so we're not like slumping and hanging around, we have some engagement in the lower body to keep us here. Now, technically, in my, yoga textbook, it says we keep both legs bent because that is more accessible. But then my yoga people like to straighten one leg even though we're using the chair. So keep it comfortable for yourself. We can have one leg bent, one leg straight, but we'll do the same thing. We'll start with the right side. So we can focus on bending the right knee, taking our hands out, and we are surfing side to side regardless of what the left leg is doing. So let's reach to the back, moving into the past, if we like that analogy. And then we're taking right arm to right thigh for our side angle. Even smaller movements this time. Let's just circle the shoulder. And then we can wrap the arm all the way in behind. And we might even find a comfortable point on the chair for the hand to either land or hold on. If we're still standing, we could straighten the leg for triangle. And then with our next exhale, let's make our way back through center. And we're switching sides. So we can bend both legs and just turn our focus of attention more to the left leg. Palms up or down. And we are surfing. Whenever you're ready. I do think this typical, very tired yoga joke about the past and the present and the future, I think it really applies to summer though, because summer stretches out ahead of us and we have these big dreams and we kind of get sad as we get towards the end of summer. But really the best way to enjoy it is to notice, okay, what do we have right here, right now? We'll reach all the way back. And then our side angle, left arm to left arm, and we'll circle just the shoulder this time. Although actually one of the ways to make that end of summer fun is to have some sort of end of summer ritual, or I always like to do some sort of photo scrapbook and write down what I've done. Although I forget a lot of it, so I do it as I go through the summer, so I remember everything when I get to the end. All right, we can let the top arm hang out wherever it wants to hang out, holding the chair or not. If we're still standing, then we straighten the left leg into triangle. And let's use our strength to come up through center. And we'll take ourselves down into our wide-legged forward fold, this time with our legs bent. Sometimes people like as a landmark to know where to go, to take the hands down the outside of the leg, and then to have something to hang on to, we can hold on to the outside of the ankle. If we want to go further, we can take the hands down or walk out on the floor in front of us. Depends how high your chair is, how long your arms are. But again, let's invite in the element of water. We can gently flow the body side to side. Pressing down through our feet, let's bring ourselves back up to the top. How are we doing? All right. So let's all come to take a seat, and we'll do a couple to release our shoulders before we move into our final stretches and relaxation. All right, so this is actually one that comes from the lymphatic world and we can do this actually to help ourselves wake up in the morning. But I like how we kind of channel the element of water. And sometimes I think we're tight in the upper body, so we have trouble sleeping. So it kind of loosens up the neck and shoulders. It is sometimes affectionately called seaweed arms. So, okay, think about seaweed growing from the cool, hydrated depths, the bottom of the lake. It knows nothing about the heat of the sun. That is what we're going to do with our arms. Flipping one arm up and then the other. So sometimes it's really tricky for coordination. One up, one down. So if we want to go through really slowly in bits and pieces, we can do one arm at a time. And then we can start to alternate as we get more comfortable with it. And then ideally, instead of it being about the hands, it's about the shoulder. So the shoulder comes forward and then the shoulder blade drops down and back. The shoulder comes forward, shoulder blade drops down and back. And once we get good at it, we are swaying like happy, cool seaweed in the dark depths. And I am so sorry if, what do we always say? It's not the heat, it's the humidity. If you are really feeling the energy of the humidity with this analogy, please be a desert flower instead if you would like to feel more dry. All right, let's take it all the way to one side with our seaweed. And we'll come into our side bend here, kind of working on a theme. Our seaweed arm comes in behind and our opposite arm comes down. And to loosen up our neck, any movements of the neck that feel good. Bringing ourselves back through center. And we'll reset to make sure we're balanced, taking our seaweed arms all the way over on the other side. One arm in behind, hand to opposite back pocket, opposite arm down for support. Getting our side bend, and then whatever feels good on this side of the neck. Looking up and down, drawing a circle with the nose. And then we'll come through center. All right, so we'll give us some options to stretch down on the mat. Approximate them as well as you like in the chair by leaning back, taking it easy, remembering we are not working too hard, but if we like the floor, let's take it to the floor. So let's bring ourselves down to lie on our backs. And this is what the research said about lowering our body temperature for sleep. They tested all these different yoga techniques, and not surprisingly, the one thing they found that worked best was lying sort of in an X, which I have heard called sleeping starfish pose. So as we lie on our backs, as space allows, we can take the feet wide so that the thighs aren't touching, letting the feet roll apart. And then take the arms out into an X position, or sort of a Y, like a YMCA. Now that is really a big range of motion. And if you notice that your arms aren't touching the floor, they're kind of hovering awkwardly, that's where we can do our T arms, like we've just been doing, or our cactus arms, or fingers towards the ears, thumbs towards shoulders, or arms alongside the body. Any of those still keep, our underarms open so our body isn't touching other parts of our body. If you would like to have hands on belly or chest to be more aware of your breathing, you can. But let's find some sort of cooling, open position. The other thing we may like, if we struggle with any swelling of our legs or feet in the summer, is to elevate our feet on a chair, a couch, a wall, or anything nearby. So taking a minute here to come into whatever is a comfortable position for you. And I will guide us through our science-backed techniques for helping bring ourselves into a deactivated position. So you may notice that you already have that sort of tired feeling, but not the wired feeling. So these are supposed to kind of burn up the wired feeling, help us to be less activated. If you are not feeling wired, guess what? They will still work for you, no problem, to help us fall asleep. All right. Where do we begin? Let's start with the most activating and then go to the least activating, our tense and release or progressive muscle relaxation. So we start by bringing awareness to different parts of the body, squeezing those body parts without doing huge movements, and then relaxing and then moving on to the next body part. So we can actually start with the feet. And really our hands and feet are the only pieces that actually move. So we can flex the feet or point the toes, really squeeze the muscles of the feet. Take a breath in. And then with the exhale, let them release. We do the same thing with the muscles of the calves. So this is an isometric contraction. Really only you know that you're doing it. Helps us focus our attention, create mind-body awareness. We squeeze, 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 squeeze the calves and the muscles of the lower leg. And then with an exhale, let it go. Gradually bringing our awareness up, squeezing the muscles of the upper leg. So we can imagine muscle hugging in towards our bones, or in your mind's eye, picturing moving the muscles. Don't move it in reality, but the signal still gets sent to squeeze the muscle. We don't always match breath to movement, but generally in a yoga class, we exhale kind of to help release the muscle. Bringing our awareness up to our gluteal muscles, the muscles of the hips, around the pelvis, your bum. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And with an exhale, release. And you are welcome to move at any point if you feel like there's a lot of tension or awkwardness. You don't have to stay in this five-pointed sleeping starfish pose. This can also be done lying on your side, your stomach, seated, anywhere you're happy. Let's squeeze all the muscles of the lower body together, really tensing. And then focusing on the feeling of relaxation that follows. You may like to exhale from the mouth as well, or let out a sigh, a sound. And we'll move to the upper body. And often it's easier to start with the hands, just like how we started the feet, making a really tense fist. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And with an exhale, release. We could do the opposite direction too, really spreading the fingers, starfishing the hands, squeezing, stretching out. Exhaling to release. Moving the muscle tensing up the arm, tensing forearms. And this might also mean we have to accommodate the movement in the arms. If they're stretched really overhead, we have to bring them down a bit. That's okay. Bringing the tension to the upper arm. Kind of showing off our muscles, squeezing our biceps, our shoulders. We can squeeze the shoulders up towards the ears. We might even like to move the arms, kind of hug ourselves as we squeeze the muscles of the chest. We could tuck the chin down like we've just eaten a lemon, squeeze the muscles of the face. And then release, kind of flop open. And then leading yourself. If you really like this and you feel you want to do some more of it, squeezing more, releasing. Some people respond really well to that tense and release kind of energy. Feel free to keep going with it. Some of my students prefer just focusing on the relaxation. Every exhale, imagining the body is releasing more. One of my students told me she imagines that even her fingerprints are releasing. So for you, at home, pick your favorite, tense and release, or focus on just exhale and release. And we have our coherence breathing. Inhaling for 4, exhaling for 4 or longer. So this might be where we really like to stretch out the exhale. And I'm actually surprised that the research didn't cover a long exhale, because when we stretch out the exhale, we slow our heart rate down, and that's also necessary for sleep. So if you ever feel like your heart is really pounding, we can do some quicker breathing to kind of meet that mood, and then stretch out the exhale to help slow the heart rate down. And our final piece of the puzzle, they actually call it mental shuffling, I think. I'm going on a picnic and I'm bringing A, apples, B, bananas, C, cucumber sandwiches, D, dill pickles, whatever you like. You can choose picnic or any other activity. You can start to make your way through the alphabet. Don't overthink it. If you can't think of something, move on to the next letter. None of this is important, and that's the point. All right, so we can let this lead us into sleep. In the recording, I'll leave some longer music to listen to. No need to get up, move, go anywhere, or do anything. You are perfect, just where you are, as you are. But we can bring our attention together. Thank you so much for joining me here this evening. I hope you sleep well all summer. From my light to yours. Namaste.